Hey guys, welcome back. So now we're getting into the conclusion of the death of Doctor Strange. And I'll say, just initially jumping into this one, this ending threw me for a loop, like I didn't see it coming. Especially with what it set us up for, that's gonna follow right after in about a month from now. So let's get into it. But first, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to catch the spills every week. And don't forget to hit that bell up top so we can squat up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so when we pick back up from Classic Strange making his case and revealing that Caecilius was indeed the murderer of the present day Doctor Strange, with him having not only the motive to get back at Baron Mordo, for which is pretty much his lack of acknowledgement for Caecilius being so loyal for so long, and for Caecilius rather than just having a direct attack on Mordo, he had instead used this recent opportunity with all these Sorcerer Supremes from different dimensions making their way to Earth to steal power from them to overcome Doctor Strange and rob Baron Mordo of the kill that he had been trying to pull off for years. But on top of this big reveal, you also had the case of the three mothers who are like right outside, like they're finna crash this party at any second, which is the situation while classic Doctor Strange is being confronted by Caecilius. But while this is happening, you also have Agamemnon, the Sorcerer Supreme of the purple dimension, who's like, look, okay, these three mothers is finna pull up and I ain't trying to be here. But when he attempts to make a portal for himself to leave before everything gets crazy, and it's here where classic Doctor Strange lets him know that he's not going anywhere, and neither are any of the other warlords. And when he says this, it's here where we jump to Wong, where we see him performing the task that classic Strange had asked him to carry out, as far as gathering a number of magicians and getting them to learn some spell as quickly as possible. And come to find out, Wong and the others, they've come together and focused their magic on a binding spell, so they can make sure that none of these warlords could leave Umar's domain. Because again, not only is classic Strange using these guys as bait, but he also needs all of them here for his plan to work. But also, as you would imagine, it's kind of hard to hold people in one spot when this is also the place where you do your big reveal for the murder mystery, and the same person that you called out to be the culprit is now trying to kill you. And on top of this, to make matters worse, Caecilius, he's made sure at this point, with him having current Doctor Strange's hands and his soul as a power buff, that he's shielded himself so that no combat spell can affect him, but also no weapon can do him harm. And he made sure that this was done so he can't take physical damage, his spirit can't be harmed, his mind can't be controlled. Like, he put a lot of thought into this. But even with him creating all these contingencies, classic Doctor Strange does one spell, and this spell was the last thing that Caecilius was thinking of. Because for one, this spell was no way an attack on Caecilius, but instead, classic Doctor Strange did a healing spell on his own future hands that had been taken, which at this point are still attached to Caecilius' body. And right away when I first seen this, I was like, man, this is brilliant. But at the same time, I was kind of like, oh man, this is dark. Because with classic Strange effectively looking to Caecilius, who has both hands and the soul of current day Doctor Strange, which he's effectively using as a weapon, and he's pretty much just looked at him and said, okay, well 5 to 10% of the current Doctor Strange is there, so just heal him, make that 100%, which as a result, this completely consumes Caecilius. And while this is happening, he tells classic Strange, like, this is inhuman. But classic Doctor Strange lets him know, like, he's the master of black magic, which is what Doctor Strange used to say a lot back then. But even with him saying this now, he lets Caecilius know that when he needs to go there, he'll go there. And this was definitely one of your darkest examples of that, with Caecilius effectively suffering from death by transmutation. But after this healing process is fully complete, your current Doctor Strange is fully formed, and Caecilius, he's just gone. But with this happening and the classic Doctor Strange successfully solving the murder of the current Doctor Strange, we then jump over to the next phase of his plan, to where right outside he's called in the Avengers and the X-Men to show up in Antarctica to come together to fight against the three mothers and the peregrine child. But also with how this is done, when we jump back to both of the Doctor Stranges, and with how this is done with us like on one hand jumping to the fight outside and then jumping back in, it's done in a way to where we miss the details of classic Doctor Strange's plan. But even with that being the case, we do get a moment to where we hear classic Doctor Strange telling current Doctor Strange, like from one dead man to another, to make sure that he heeds his advice, because however this plays out, classic Doctor Strange, his time is is almost up, and almost as a request for a favor in return, he demands that Doctor Strange does something, and we'll see what that is in a little bit. But with him demanding that Doctor Strange does this, they reassure the warlords to play their part, because it's kind of a we all make it out or none of us make it out kind of situation. But then also classic Doctor Strange, he reminds current Doctor Strange to make sure that he follows through with his demand, because after he plays his part here, current Doctor Strange has to follow through to make sure that it was all worth it. But then after this, as they make their way outside and we see the X-Men and the Avengers fighting against the three mothers and the child, and on one hand we're shown this fight in a way to where it's like, okay, the Avengers and the X-Men, like, they're not gonna win. Like, if it were left to them alone and they had the means or the power to overthrow the three mothers and the child, then that would have happened well before this point. But instead, with how this is done, it's really just done like giving us a quick look at Earth's heroes who have leaped into a battle a number of times that they knew they couldn't win, which again is the reason why all these warlords have fled to Earth. But then on the other hand, it's also a bit of Jed McKay flexing on how powerful the three mothers are, as well as the Peregrine child, because together they are given the business to Starbrand, Echo with the Phoenix Force, to Jean Grey, one of the world's most powerful telepaths, to Captain Marvel, to Thor, and you can really tell right away it's the common method to where you bring in somebody new that nobody knows nothing about, let them just beat the snot out of Earth's mightiest heroes so we can see how powerful they are. And it's the same thing when somebody gets a power buff, kind of like what we've been seeing going on with Galactus for the past 5-6 years. And really it's been longer than that, but you guys know it's ramped up lately. But really what this comes down to is this moment where Doctor Strange is like, okay, these aren't enemies who can be just defeated by strength, or really any warrior for that matter, because these enemies have to be defeated by sorcerers. And it's here where Doctor Strange more or less takes a page out of Caecilius' playbook, but in this case on a whole nother level, with him combining the power of 5 different Sorcerer Supremes, starting with himself as the Sorcerer Supreme of Earth, Taboro as Sorcerer Supreme of the 6th Dimension, Agamon Sorcerer Supreme of the Purple Dimension, Magic Sorcerer Supreme of Limbo, and Clea Sorcerer Supreme of the Dark Dimension. Because again, none of them individually had the power to combat the three mothers, but collectively these 5 were more than the three mothers can handle. And with this being the case, of course, the three mothers, they call out for the child to lend them more power, which right away made me think of Power Rangers for some reason, I don't know. But with doing this, the three mothers, they get a power buff, and immediately after this, classic Doctor Strange goes in his astral form and he races for the Peregrine child. And when this happens, he's caught and he's eaten. But current day Doctor Strange, he assures the other sorcerers that Classic Strange knows what he's doing, this is part of the plan, and Classic Strange knows his part. And what we quickly come to find out is that Classic Strange first confronted the Peregrine child in his astral form, because otherwise he would have just been destroyed. But instead, with him making his way in his astral form, this way he's now able to access all the magic that's inside the Peregrine child, so that he can use his power and attack the child from the inside out. And when this happens, the child just holds his stomach like, oh man, I ate something really strange. And right away you can tell the thing knows that it set itself up. But with Classic Strange doing this, he effectively sacrifices himself. But then also along with doing this, your current day Doctor Strange, he tells Classic Strange to force the mothers and the child out and scatter them across the dimensions so that the child can detonate somewhere else at a safe distance, but also so that the three mothers can be stranded. But with this happening and the heroes collectively effectively having the win. And also at this point, classic Doctor Strange, he's no longer in the picture. But it's at this point where we then get a moment between current Doctor Strange and Clea, where he tells Clea what classic Doctor Strange demanded of him, which was for him to hold on to Clea as long as he could, or for as long as she would have him. And of course in response, Clea's like, I'm not going anywhere. Because again, it's not like these two had separated or broke up like some traditional relationship, like these two got Mephisto'd. So clearly with them back together and Clea's memories restored, she wouldn't want to have it any other way. And really if either one of them were being held to doing this, that would be Doctor Strange for not choosing his words carefully and falling into Mephisto's trap after receiving Mephisto's help. But even in this case with them finally reunited, as it turns out, Doctor Strange coming back wasn't a proper resurrection. And it's in this moment where Doctor Strange tells Clea that the younger version of himself, he was right about one thing, but he was wrong about another, because his life cannot be stolen from death so easily. And it's for that reason that she will take back what is hers. And right when he says this, he then starts to fade away, asking Clea for one last favor as he leaves her with the Eye of Agamotto and the Cloak of Levitation. Because as of this point forward, Doctor Strange is effectively dead. And that's really all that we're left with. But moving forward, with Clea already being Sorcerer Supreme of the Dark Dimension, and now her being Sorcerer Supreme of Earth, and I'll admit, this has me excited to see where Jed MacKay is gonna take this in March when the new Strange series comes out. At least I believe it's coming in March. And I'm excited because I really want to see what Clea, the Sorcerer Supreme, versus Mistress Death is gonna look like. Which at this point, I'm just assuming that we're gonna see to some measure within that story, because it seems like the most likely continuation. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here, who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below, so you can go to patreon.com/DopeSpill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And also let me know what you think about the new Strange series, with the idea of it bringing in Clea as the Sorcerer Supreme, because I'm curious to hear you guys' thoughts and theories of what might be around the corner. But with that said, that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again in the next one. Alright, later.